You who are new, this is Dr. Herbert Harris. I invite you, of course, to visit our website, herbertharris.com, and schedule a What's Next strategy consultation, complimentary, to help you figure out what's the next stage of your life, what's the next challenge of your life, what's the blessing that's coming to you. Also, you can check out our profile here on Instagram and schedule that success consultation and learn about some of the other things, our books, the life lessons for your success, the 12 affirmations to live by, and some of the other books we publish. The topic today is something that I think happens to many of us, and I'll call it repeated failure patterns. And this is a situation where you find yourself when you have a particular endeavor. I used to coach a speaker, and his main challenge was that he never prepared enough early enough. And so whenever he spoke, he always felt unprepared. And so he often had to rely on notes. So you never got that feeling that he really had gained command of his topic, of his subject. And it happened over and over. And I said, well, why don't you develop your talk, whatever it is, and practice it a week before? Why don't you stand in the mirror so that you can deliver your presentation in the most effective way? And he says, yeah, Doc, I'm going to do it. But somehow it never got done. And so those of you who are listening, think about it. Are there activities or situations in your life where you find the same thing happening over and over? A friend of mine once said, she said, you know, Herbert, she said, she'd been married 5 times, by the way, so I thought of her as a marriage expert, and she said, no, definitely not. I wouldn't have been married 5 times if I'd figured it out. But she said her challenge was she kept meeting the same person in a different hat. And so my question to her is, what is the one common denominator of all 5 of your failed marriages? It was her. And so this topic of repeated patterns of failure, repeated patterns of disappointment, repeated emotional involvements that are painful. So let's look at some of the common ways that we betray ourselves through these negative patterns. Number 1 is limiting beliefs. Many people actually believe subconsciously that they are not capable of or worthy of the success that they say they want. And it may be something going back to childhood trauma. It may be something going back to an environment in which, everybody around you is so critical that criticism causes inaction very much in young children. Adults look at criticism as ways to make you get better. But when you have a child in a critical environment, it often results in ways to shut up and stop trying. So these limiting beliefs can be one of those things that set you up for these repetitive failures, these repetitive situations where you're getting the same results over and over, and these results are not the ones you want. Wow. How can you overcome that? Well, number 1, identify that negative self-talk. Listen to the words that you hear inside your mind. And they're there. We often say when you're in a challenging situation to be still and know. So you have to be still to hear the words that you're saying to yourself inside that helps pre-program you in such a way as to create this repetitive behavior. And so then you at least know what I need to do, replace these negative affirmations with positive affirmations. To refocus by, if you're here, you're still alive, you've had some success, everything you did was not a failure. So look at the successes, focus on those successes to change your frame of reference. Another cause for these repeated failures are poor habits and lack of discipline. I remember the day when when you had, we call it a bad kid, a kid who was, I'll just say, an independent thinker, a child who was challenging in the school system. And often when the parents had money, they'd send them away to military school. Good morning, Dr. Lundy Monroe, my classmate. Great man. Thank you for joining us. And so they'd send them away to military school or to these private schools, and the hope being that a military school would help them to develop discipline and better habits, put them into a structured environment. But if that doesn't happen, where do you learn your habits? You often learn your habits by watching your parents, watching other people. So if you find you're around people who shuffle and as they say, shuck and jive, guess what? Chances are you'll be a shucker and a jiver. And these poor habits, this lack of discipline often manifests through procrastination, putting off until tomorrow what should have been done last week. It can morph into poor time management. You'll set out with great intentions for the things that need to be done each day, but you find at the end of the day 90% of them didn't get done because you didn't manage your time properly. Stuff pulled you away. Stuff, got you off the path. Inconsistency. Success is not a big event. Success is a series of small events consistently practiced over time. And sometimes this repetitive negative behavior can be directly related to some emotional wounds. Past rejection, past failures, betrayal, trauma. I mean, these things, when stuff hurts you on an emotional level, it leaves a scar. I'm going to tell a story about a person who was always apologizing. And he was one of those young men that he would say the first thing that came to his mouth, and he would say some hurtful things to his brothers, his sisters, his parents, anybody. And then the next day he would come back and he would apologize. And he really developed a frame of reference where he said, well, Dad, I apologized, that should make it all right. And so the dad told him, I said, listen, every time you create a situation of negativity, every time you hurt somebody's feelings, you say something negative, go put a nail in this tree out in the backyard. So he did. And said, and now when you apologize, go take the hammer and pull the nail out. He said, he did. And he said, now when you do that, what do you see? The tree has a hole in it, even though you pulled the nail out. So your intentions might have good, but the wound was permanent. So sometimes these emotional wounds can be in us so deeply that they frame our habits, they frame our perspective. And of course, lack of clear goals. If you don't know where you're going, it's like having an incredible GPS and no destination. If you don't have a compelling vision, a compelling goal for what you want to be, do, and have, it's not going to happen. So let's try to wrap this up. How can you get out of that cycle of repeated failures, the same things happening over and over, the same negative relationships, the same disappointing results, the same activities that bring you pain and suffering? Well, 4 steps to help break this cycle. Number 1 is to recognize the pattern. I know for me personally, when I had been in these kind of situations, when you get there and you go like, oh man, I've done it again. Now, recognize it. Say, listen, yes, I've done it again, but stop blaming circumstances. Identify that behavior and take ownership of it. It's yes, I did do it again. So if I am responsible for doing it, I am responsible for changing it. Wow. And you ask yourself, based on these behaviors that I have been experiencing, what lesson is this behavior compelling me to learn? So recognize the pattern and understand the lesson that is compelling you to learn. Step 2, renew your thinking. The first law of success says you become what you think about most of the time. A mind shall have whatsoever it thinks in its heart. So replace fear with faith. So if you've been hurt, every relationship you've been in, you've experienced pain. They've lied, cheated, and stolen. Good grammar, of course. That it keeps happening over and over again. So replace that fear that it's going to happen, because what does fear do? Fear attracts the same results that you fear of. So they say, the things that I fear have come upon me. In the book of Job, in his trials and tribulations, Job said, the things that I fear have come upon me. And so retool your thinking so that there's no more fear of a certain outcome. Now you have faith in what you want to happen. You go from the fear of your current circumstances to the faith of the promised land that you seek and desire. Replace excuses with responsibility. Change your thinking, saying, my thinking created this, let me change my thinking. Replace doubt with confidence. How do you do that? Well, you look at the times you were successful and the times things worked for you. So often we get so focused on what didn't work that we forget what a great job you've done in some other areas. So refocus on those good things. Build that confidence. Step 3. Replace one habit at a time. You didn't get here overnight, and you won't get out of the situation overnight. But replace one habit at a time. Don't try to change everything at once. If you're always late to your appointments, one habit, like, all right, you know what? I find that I'm late every time because I'm running around in the morning. Oh my God, the shirt wasn't ironed. I can't find my socks. Where's my tie? So one habit, commit to laying out your wardrobe the night before, making sure that everything is ready. All you got to do is shower and jump in it and roll out the door. Choose one daily habit that moves you toward your desired future. So if you're a speaker, for example, you say, okay, one daily habit. I'm going to take my speech, whatever speech I'm going to use, and I'm going to practice it every day. I'm going to read it through every day. I'm going to stand in front of the mirror every day until I don't need to read anything, until that speech is so much a part of me, I'm telling what I know and what is a part of my thinking. Consistency beats intensity. You look at the Grand Canyon. Here you have a big hole a mile deep. How was that hole created? Not by a tidal wave coming and cracking the rock and making this big canyon. No, it came about by the water, the Colorado River, the river flowing through it for millions of years. Number 4, repeat success until it becomes the new habit. I was teaching a class on daily productivity. How do you increase your productivity? And one of the key things was to, number 1, to lay out your daily plan the night before. 2, to schedule when each activity must be performed. So you have a date, a time attached to every activity. 3, to acknowledge the amount of time it takes for that activity. This is where your experience comes into play. So you say, okay, I'm going to make X number of calls to help build my business. I acknowledge that 10 calls an hour is about it. If you're saying, I'm going to make 20 calls an hour, you're setting yourself up for failure. Once you start to repeat these success habits, these success activities, they become ingrained in you so that it becomes a part of your daily routine. Wow. Thank you. Black Book Club. My oldest son is reading my book right now. Thank you so much. The 12 Universal Laws of Success. One of the great things that I feel about that book is that it has touched many of the young people. It seems to be one of the few books that the young people will pick up because I wrote it for them so they can work with it. Thank you so much. So these 4 keys here now. Repeating these positive thinking and wise decision making and disciplined action, when you start putting yourself in that cycle, you're now in a situation or in an environment where you can eliminate these repetitive failures. When you can, number 1, recognize the pattern, so you see what it is and take responsibility for it. Number 2, where you renew your thinking, change your thinking because your thinking creates a different result. Number 3, replace one habit at a time. Don't do it all at once. And then number 4, repeat success. Repeat the good stuff. Repeat the stuff that's working until it becomes a habit, so that you automatically wake up at a certain time of day. So that you automatically at a certain time each night lay out your plan of action for the next day and evaluate your performance that day and now lay out some new plan and new schedule. So that all of these things happen as automatically as you get hungry and go to the bathroom and take a shower every morning. When you can do this, then you can change failure patterns into success patterns. And the beauty of this process is that as you build on it day by day, you create something called momentum. And that momentum now begins to pull you along. In the beginning, you're pushing. But once a car gets rolling, you don't have to push so hard anymore. And once you come to a hill, that car's going to roll on its own, and all you got to do is jump on. Well, that's the same way in life. When you create these positive success habits, when you create them on a daily basis, when you incorporate them until they become as habitful and in such a habit pattern that you cannot operate without doing it the same way to get those desired results, then nothing is impossible. Then you can truly be what you want to be. Then you can do what you want to do. Then you can have anything you desire, always knowing that the best is yet to come. Wow. Folks, thanks so much for being with us this Friday checkup. This has been Dr. Herbert Harris. It's always my honor and my joy to be here with you and share this. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. Monday meditation, Wednesday wisdom, Wednesday and Friday checkup. So join us. Bring somebody next time. On most Saturdays, I'm also here at 8 o'clock with the Success Mentorship class. So thank you so much for being with us. Be sure to visit our website, herbertharris.com. And if you're at that point in your life where you're saying, what's next? How do I get out of this failure cycle? What's next? What's the next steps on my journey to my vision, to my promised land? What's next? How do I get around this obstacle? How do I change this situation? Then reach out to me. Go to my website, herbertharris.com, and book a What's Next strategy call. Go to our profile here on Instagram and click book a success strategy call. Let's talk about it. We may have the keys to unlock the door to the person that you want to be. And so now, let's let our theme song bring it on home. Built to bless.